Chapter 2. The Tears of Densa. The quiet night was shattered by a black sports car that drove over the country roads playing loud music. Two younger women and a man who was a few years older were on their way home from the local nightclub. The party that night was moved outside, especially to dance in the aurora light. The nebula, the music, and the fine weather ensured a resounding success. The two women were jolly and obviously drunk. They wore provocatively dresses and had on too much makeup. The man had sacrificed himself to stay sober and brought the ladies home. He had black hair and wore a white t-shirt on black jeans and sportive sneakers. The fun continued, and the trio enjoyed the small after-party in the car. The road was dark, but was much more visible because of the twilight from the nebula. The two girls and the man talked about the great evening and how well the DJ interacted with the crowd. Suddenly the music in the car was disrupted by a swelling buzz from the loudspeakers. "Did your speakers just broke?" asked Liz. "No, I think it's the radio," answered Mike. He pushed some buttons randomly and put the CD into and out of the player, but it had no use. "Turn the radio off," Simone suggested. Mike nodded and pressed the off button. The lights of the radio blinked a few times and then went out completely. But the buzz did not stop and kept getting louder. "Damn! What the heck is wrong with this thing?" Frustrated, he pressed the power button again when the sparks behind the display made it clear that this radio just quit as a result of his action. Shit! It short-circuited. "Stop the car here at the side so we can take a better look," said Liz, worried. Mike took his foot from the gas and pressed the brake, but without any result. The car responded on the brakes, but the tires skidded on the road without losing speed. "The brakes don't work," said Mike in panic. He pushed the brakes as hard as he could and turned the wheel, but the car responded to nothing and continued driving straight ahead. "The handbrake!" yelled Simone. But that also had no effect on the speed nor the direction of the car. Suddenly the car began to pull to the left in the direction of the meadows. In total panic, Mike turned the wheel all the way to the right and pushed the brake like a madman. "Here we go!" Mike yelled. Simone and Liz held tight to the handles of the doors and screamed as the car drove into the ditch with a hard bang. The car had crashed nose down into the ditch. There was a silence, except for the loudspeakers that still buzzed, accompanied by the hiss of the broken radiator that blew off steam. Mike was the first who regained consciousness, and blood was dripping down his face. The windshield was broken, and the airbag, which should have protected his head, malfunctioned. He looked at the back seat to see if the girls were okay. "Liz, Simone, are you okay?" Liz groaned, and Simone sat up slowly. "No, we're not," Simone said irritably. "We just had an accident, for no apparent reason, and my arms hurt like hell." Liz looked at Mike and saw that he was bleeding. "Are you okay?" she asked, pointing at his forehead. Mike carefully touched his forehead with his fingers and nodded. "Yes, it's only a small cut. We need to get out of the car and call someone who can pick us up. He turned back and tried to open the door that was stuck. When the door suddenly opened, dirty ditch water poured in. With lots of effort, he finally got out of the car and then immediately helped the two girls out of their difficult position. Once they were standing in a meadow, they overlooked the situation of the crash and the damage to the car. I hope the insurance covers everything, Mike said despondently. Otherwise, this is the most expensive night out ever. Be glad that we're still alive, Simone said, outraged. Liz reached for her phone and dialed the number of her father. But almost immediately the buzz that came from the speakers of the car came from her phone now. Surprised, she looked at the display that was showing weird, unknown characters instead of her father's telephone number. What the hell is going on? My phone had the same problems as your car radio. She gave her mobile phone to Mike, who nodded. But what do these symbols on your display mean? Mike asked. No idea. I've never seen them before, said Liz. Mike stretched his arm to give Liz her phone back. But suddenly it was pulled out of his hand and shot a few feet into the air and landed in the grass about 30 feet further. At the same moment, Liz, her necklace, reacted by pointing straight up into the air. Before she could react, her chain fell back on her chest. In shock, they looked at the phone and then at the necklace. It looks like someone is playing with a large magnet, Mike said, surprised. Liz put the pendant on her necklace back beneath her dress and rubbed the sore spot on the back of her neck. I want to leave, she said now emotionally. Simone looked around and saw a farmer's house in the distance. There, she pointed towards the farm.